So Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I've said I'm not a fan of, even when I agree with her, a lot of times it just feels like she's looking for her moment in the spotlight. And when she was on the House floor, she decided that she was not going to use doctor. She was not going to use Dr. Fauci's title. She was going to call him Mr. Fauci, as you'll hear in this clip that talks about beagles and all kinds of other things. Here she is.
Fauci, you were quoted on CBS Face the Nation saying it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes
Again,
or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no
Yes,
answer.
it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting and evil, what you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent, and it needs to stop. Mr. Fauci, you also represent the type of science that where you confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up
say
as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science.
What does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking about today?
These are scientific experiments. This is what you signed off on. But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear a mask. But let's also talk a little bit further about the type of science that you represent. NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers, a fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks, to get patents where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in royalty fees, especially when the NIH and these government agencies, most powerful agencies in our country, are recommending medical suggestions and advice and making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer.
So at that moment, that is when there was a 2 to 3 minute break, because then there were all kinds of Democrats going, point of order, point of order. She's like, she's going against the rules of decorum by not referring to him by his proper title. They spent like a whole bunch of time arguing that, and then let her finish her stuff, which is, here's the rest of it.
Science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email, where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions, while you and all your cronies get paid from Big Pharma. You know that what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
mean, she's not wrong. She's not wrong on any of those things. Her approach, I know you hate her approach, but what did she say that was wrong?
I'm not saying that she said anything wrong. I'm
I think
saying
it's
that she is always out for attention.
But I mean,
always.
I can't find anything wrong with what she said. I mean, the Beagle thing, I know some people were put off by the Beagle thing. However, let me point out that you will not see any of like the liberal lamestream media picking that up and running with it. Although they had a heyday with Kristi Noem and the dog. You know what I mean? They just went and they ran with that. And it was like 2 weeks of pummeling her for the dog thing, dog abuse. But then this guy is like using my money to abuse dogs. You know what I mean? I know it's like pharmaceutical stuff. I get it, whatever. But still, the guy's evil. And he's using my money to torture beagles. And somebody said, BLM, Beagles Lives Matter. They do. They actually do. So, I mean, you won't see them take exactly the approach that they did with Kristi Noem. They will ignore it completely because, you know, it's Fauci and that's their guy. It was on Vanity Fair and he's going to be played by Brad Pitt in the biopic of his life, right? Because they love him. He's so hot and sexy.
We remind everybody about the education you can get from our friends at Birch Gold simply by texting the word chicks to 989898 to get your free information kit. And Steve Forbes, by the way, who everybody knows is kind of like a financial wizard, he had this to say about gold specifically. He said, and I quote, "Gold maintains its intrinsic value better than anything else on earth, and that is for the past 4,000 years. When you see the dollar price fluctuate around gold, that means the dollar is weakening." And that's something that this is part of the information that you'll get when you get that kit for free from Birch Gold. That's just one of the things that you're going to learn about. Peter Schiff, another expert, said people should buy gold while it's still cheap because when gold is remonetized, when it's once again at the center of the monetary universe, the price has only one way to go, and that is up. So get in while you can get in is the message there. And again, you can learn all of this for free by just texting the word chicks to 989898, and you can get your free information kit from our friends at Birch Gold. Well, and I don't have clips of the Democrats who were defending him at every turn in this hearing. I mean, they were absolutely falling all over themselves to just say, thank you so much for your service to this country. I mean, it was vile. And then I think it was Raskin who accused Marjorie Taylor Greene of worshiping Trump, which she took great issue with and talked about it in a post-hearing interview right here.
Chairman, I have in that room.
No, absolutely not. I mean, everything I said is correct. It's how the American people feel. It's what we know to be a fact. It's all the evidence has been proven true. We have Jamie Raskin in there accusing us of worshiping Trump. Worshiping as a convicted felon. Well, yeah, so is George Floyd. And everybody, and you all too, the media worship George Floyd. Democrats worship George Floyd. There were riots burning down the fucking country over George Floyd. And Raskin is in there saying we worship him. Excuse me, let me correct you, and this is really important. I don't worship, I worship God. God. And Jesus is my savior. I don't worship President Trump. And I'm really sick and tired of the bullshit annex I have to deal with constantly from the Democrats. So that's what we just went through in there. And then they're sitting there, they can attack my character all day long. What's his face in there? Whoever was talking last was calling me insane. But yet we can't say, oh, they're attacking my character. Oh no, it's nonstop BS and annex. You want to know why? The Democrats don't have anything. They're responsible for the lockdowns, forced vaccinations, kids being forced to stay home, people committing suicide, and all the horrors that this country lived through during COVID. Fauci belongs in prison. He should be tried for mass murder, and he should be tried for crimes against humanity. That's how I feel after that hearing. That's how the American people feel.
Again, I disagree with nothing there. I just said there's nothing there that I have a problem with. I don't see a problem.
I'm just so frustrated that this will lead to absolutely nothing.
I'm sure it will lead to nothing, but she was 100% correct in everything that she just said.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, did you
well,
guys do you disagree with anything there? I don't disagree.
I'm with Kelly J, who's just like, I don't like her, but I don't disagree. I mean, that's exactly
Right.
how I feel. Like she's so
Mhm.
off-putting to me in almost every way.
Right.
Even when I agree with her, I just
listen.
oh my God.
I probably would not be friends with her.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there. We probably would not be like BFFs, but I agree with everything that she says. And I'm glad that, and listen, I'm glad that she's speaking out because where's everybody else?
Well, there were plenty of Republicans in there speaking out. We played those clips earlier before we played hers.
But where have they been all the way? Where have they been?
Not getting the kind of attention that she gets for herself.
Because she speaks out and she says the things. You know what I mean? It's like,
and none of it does any good. Whether they're quiet about it or whether they're loud about it, we are still in the same freaking place. That's
and it's kind of like it goes back to the stuff about Trump too. You know, it's like all the stuff that all the cases with Trump, everything else. It's like we have got a bunch of wusses on our side of the aisle that are unwilling to fight. They're unwilling to say the things. They're like, we've got to be polite. We have to be polite. And there's a certain decorum. And like they're the Mitch McConnells. I'm sick of those people because nothing happens. And then we get trampled on. So, I mean, say the things because at this point, we are a third world country. It's time to throw down.
I guess it can't hurt at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because like none of it is doing any good. Whether you're whether you're Marjorie Taylor Greene or whether you're Dr. McCormick, none of it is mattering. None of it. And that is what is so frustrating.
It's time to throw down.
Dave Rubin was on Gutfeld last night and he had something to say.
Nothing to do with school closures. We could go on and on. There's another part of that testimony where he says that he blames 200,000 to 300,000 COVID deaths on podcasters for spreading misinformation about vaccines. I would like to say, as an unvaccinated podcaster, I want to use my words carefully here, Anthony Fauci can go himself.
Agreed. Yes.
He chose those words very carefully.
Yes. My sentiments exactly. As an unvaccinated podcaster, I would like to say the same thing. I second that, Dave Rubin. I second that.
I love him.